Hello, it's Monica again here from splendicious.co.uk. Thought we'd just do a little bread making video to share with you. The recipe's on the website, and it's really simple to make. I use a stand mixer. My particular one is a Kenwood Chef Classic, and we need a dough hook, which is what this looks like. But if you haven't got a stand mixer, and you haven't got the funds to buy one, you can use a hand mixer with dough hooks, or alternatively you can make this by hand, and we'll mention texture and things so you know what you're aiming for if you are going to do this by hand. So take your mixer bowl, and in that you want 2 cups of warm water. Yeast is a living organism and it likes a warm environment. And then I just use normal dried yeast. That's 2 tablespoons. We just sprinkle that in there. And then the yeast needs something to eat. So, and some people would use honey, but there is a concern about maybe honey leaving behind sugars. So I discovered something called Yacon syrup, which I buy off Amazon, and this has 0 GI, so you won't get an insulin response from that should anything be left over. It doesn't really taste of anything either, so I don't think it does. So that goes in there for the yeast to eat. So the rule of thumb here is, and you could make this in a bread maker, but you're not going to be able to do the second rise, as far as I know. I don't really use a bread maker, so I don't know if you can do a second rise. But all the wet ingredients need to go first. So next, after the Yacon syrup, goes 4 eggs, which are beaten. Next we start to look at the dry ingredients. So it's 1 cup of oat fibre flour, which I buy off Amazon. This is low carb, high fibre, so it just gives your loaf, or loaves in this case, a bit of body. Then we're going to use milled flaxseed, which looks like this, nice and fine. This is full of omega oils, which is really good for you. You can use golden or otherwise, as long as it's finely milled like this. You can't use whole seeds because you just won't get a good bodied bread if you do that. So the flaxseed is like 4 third sized cups. So that goes in like so. And then if you're gluten intolerant, then this next ingredient isn't going to really help you. But if you want a nice elasticy dough and a bread that is as close as possible to the full carb version, then you need this, which is called Vital Wheat Gluten, and you can buy that off Amazon as well. And you'll be needing 2.5 cups of that. So that goes in. Then we need a little bit of xanthan gum, which just acts as a stabiliser, and you've got to be really careful with xanthan. If you let it go all lumpy into your mixture, it just sort of forms bigger lumps and it can ruin the recipe. So I just like to use a tea strainer to sprinkle it in there, and then that will disperse it nicely. 1 teaspoon of 2 teaspoons of pink salt. And there's just like extra minerals and things that make it, that's why it's the pink colour. And then add to that the last thing. Now some people like to put butter, but I found I got a much better bread by using 4 tablespoons of olive oil. So this is light olive oil, so in that goes. Then we need to put this on the mixer. Like so. Dough hook on, and now you're just going to put that on to mix for approximately 10 minutes on a slowish speed. Minutes has gone by, and now I've got a nicely combined dough. It is quite sticky at this stage. Let's extract the dough hook. And then I've got, this is my proving bowl, which is a big bowl, because I'm making 2 loaves. Obviously, if you only want to make 1 loaf, then half the recipe. But as this freezes so nicely, I always make 2 loaves. Save time later when you're living a busy life. So you can see it's quite close to what you would expect from a bread dough. Nice and elastic and a bit bouncy, as you can see. So that this bowl is oiled so that it doesn't stick, and then you need to cover that with some oiled cling film. And then we just leave that yeast to do its work, eat all the yacon syrup, excrete all of the lovely carbon dioxide, and then this bowl will be full of lovely risen dough. So you can leave that there and go and, I don't know, have a cup of tea or do whatever you want to do. It usually takes about an hour. It depends how warm it is. It's a cold January day, so it might take a little bit longer, but we'll check in back when it's risen. We've left it for an hour, and as you can see, it's risen nicely. And then this next step is something that I haven't really seen any other bread recipes do for this low carb type of bread that she's risen. Most of the recipes will have you put it into the loaf tins, raise it once, and then bake. And then you end up, I mean, they raise beautifully in the oven, you end up with this big tall loaf, but it's quite soft and open textured and not close enough to what I would consider to be real bread. So I just tried experimenting once, knocking it back, and this is absolutely the best thing ever. It's worth the extra time for the second proof. So you just literally just knock it back, which means pushing all of the air out, and then we're going to give it a second knead. So, and it's oily, so you don't need flour on the board or the work surface, because it won't be sticking to anything. So we just give it a good second knead, just to knock the air out. You can see, I mean, it's not completely like conventional dough, it's a bit more elasticy, I suppose. You don't need to go lots and lots of kneading here, just enough to bring it sort of back. But you can also see it's turned into quite a nice smooth dough as well. So then use either a knife or a dough blade and just chop that in half. And then you just need to shape it. And that's one ready to go into a loaf tin. I do fully recommend, you can just grease the loaf tin, but sometimes it's hard to get the loaf out. So I found these little loaf liners, but you can just use grease-proof paper. And then we just do exactly the same with the other one. Like so. Then we're just going to leave that for a second rise, covered in your oily cling film. Like so. And then we'll come back and it'll be baking time. This is a good time to preheat the oven because A, it'll warm the kitchen up and the rise will happen a bit faster. And B, you need to go into a hot oven. So we'll check back in a little while and see what happens. So the dough's been sitting on top of the oven that's heating up so that it's nice and warm in the loaf tins, covered, until we have, you can see it's filled the tin. This is going to turn out to be a bit funny, but it's artisan bread, so it should be fine. So the oven's been preheating gas mark 5, which is at 180 degrees C. So we put these just in the oven, and your oven may vary, but this is going to be baking for 40 minutes. So we'll come back in 40 minutes and see what they turn out like. So it's been 40 minutes. Time has gone off. Well, just check. Oh, lovely. Pleased with those. And we just the rack there. Two lovely low carb loaves. Now if you sort of do them medium slice, this equates to 2 carbs per slice, so nice and doable within your 20 carbs a day. Really great for toast. It's quite good to save the heel of the bread, which is these end bits, and then you can whiz those up in a food processor and use those to fill out, say, meatloaf or meatballs or burgers, rather than using almond flour. It makes really good fried bread, and brilliant sandwiches. So have a go, enjoy, let me know how you get on.